There is a code older than steel, older than castles, banners, and names carved into stone. It was not forged in the fire of a blacksmith's forge, but in the quieter, harsher fire of the human spirit. A fire that burns when no one is watching, when applause is gone, when victory tastes hollow. This code is not tested only on battlefields stained with blood, but in every breath, every decision, every moment where a man must choose who he truly is. This is Bushido, the way of the warrior, not a list of rules to memorize, not a manual for combat, but 8 sacred virtues, 8 pillars strong enough to carry the weight of a soul: rectitude, courage, compassion, respect, honesty, honor, loyalty, self-control. These are not traits you collect like trophies. They are not lessons you learn once and master forever. They are transformations. And through fire, through failure, through choosing to stand when everything inside you begs to fall. In feudal Japan, during the age of the samurai, these virtues were not decoration. They were survival. They were the line between a warrior and a wanderer, between a man who could be broken and one who could not. This is the story of Dai, a young samurai who inherited his father's blade, but not his father's soul. A man who possessed every advantage, yet slowly realized he had nothing that mattered, and the 8 trials that would either forge him into something unbreakable or destroy him completely. Because Bushido does not negotiate, it does not bend, it does not compromise. You either embody the code, or you reveal that you never truly understood it. Heimji Province, autumn. The year was 1670. Morning mist clung to the training yard like a held breath. Dai of the Taida clan stood alone at its center, sweat cooling on his skin, wooden sword still humming from motion. 19 summers old, 17 consecutive victories, 17 opponents defeated without a single loss in 3 months. His technique was flawless, his footwork precise, his speed undeniable, each movement executed exactly as the masters demanded. Around the yard, other samurai watched in silence, their whispers carrying the same thought. He could become legendary, just like his father. Taida Masaru, the hero who died defending Castle Sekigahara 7 years earlier. A name spoken with reverence, a name Dai heard every day and felt every night, because Dai knew the truth they did not. Beneath the perfect form and endless victories, there was nothing solid inside him. Every win felt hollow. Every word of praise rang false. When the yard emptied and the noise faded, Dai was left alone with a screaming emptiness where his father's honor should have been. He was winning, but he was not becoming. That evening, lantern light flickered across the wooden walls of the clan estate as Dai knelt before his uncle, Lord Taida Hiroshi, now head of the clan. His posture was respectful, controlled, perfect. Nephew, Hiroshi said calmly, your skill grows daily. Your father would be proud. Dai bowed his head. Thank you, uncle. A pause followed. Then Hiroshi's voice lowered. Tomorrow, a Ronin arrives. He was your father's closest friend. He has requested permission to test you. Dai looked up, surprised. Test me? I've defeated every warrior in this province. Hiroshi shook his head slowly. Not in combat, in something deeper. Your father made him promise before dying at Sekigahara, to ensure you learned what cannot be taught through sword forms. Dai frowned. What does that mean? Hiroshi's gaze hardened. You will understand tomorrow, or you won't. Either way, your path will reveal itself. Dawn broke cold and pale. In the courtyard stood a single figure, waiting. Old, perhaps 60. His face was weathered, marked by years of wind and consequence. His clothing was worn, yet immaculately maintained. His eyes were the most striking thing about him, deep, still, like water that had seen too much to ripple easily. You are Dai, the man said. I am Kenshin, your father's oath brother. Kenshin studied him for a long moment. I watched you train yesterday. 17 victories, impressive. Dai nodded. Thank you. Kenshin's voice sharpened, but empty. You defeat opponents. You do not defeat yourself. That is why I am here. Kenshin knelt and placed a small pouch on the stone ground between them. It clinked softly. Inside this bag is enough gold to live comfortably for 3 years, he said. It belongs to a merchant who wronged your clan. He cheated your uncle in a trade deal, taking advantage of your family's grief after your father's death. Your uncle wants revenge, but cannot act without dishonoring his position. He asked me to deliver this gift to you. Dai reached toward the pouch. Kenshin raised a hand. There is another truth. The merchant did not cheat intentionally. He made an honest error in calculation. He is a good man. He has a large family. This gold is his life savings. Taking it will ruin him. Silence pressed down on the courtyard. Clan honor demanded the gold. His uncle expected it. Refusal would be seen as weakness, perhaps even betrayal. Yet the merchant was innocent. Kenshin's voice broke the silence. Your father faced this same choice once. A corrupt lord ordered him to execute an innocent peasant to maintain order. Your father refused. It cost him favor, nearly cost him his position, but he chose rectitude over convenience. Kenshin met Dai's eyes. What is your choice? Dai's hand trembled. Every instinct urged him toward the easy path. But another voice, quiet and familiar, rose from memory. A samurai's strength is not in his sword, but in his ability to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Dai pushed the pouch back. Return it, he said. Tell my uncle I discovered the error. Clan honor is not built on injustice. Kenshin's face did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. The first virtue awakens, he said. 7 remain. 3 days later, Kenshin led Dai beyond the estate, to the edge of a cliff overlooking a roaring gorge. White water crashed against stone far below. Wind howled through the ravine. Kenshin stopped. Your father told me you've never faced real danger, he said. Every duel you've fought was controlled. Wooden swords, rules, supervision. Dai stiffened. I've trained for combat. Kenshin turned. Training is not experience. This is the second virtue. Courage. Not the absence of fear, but action despite it. He handed Dai a frayed rope. This rope is old. It might hold your weight. It might not. Climb down to that ledge. He pointed 30 feet below. Retrieve the marker stone. Then climb back up. Because courage cannot be practiced in safety. Because you need to know if your strength is real or just performance. The wind roared louder. Dai looked down. And for the first time in his life, victory was not guaranteed. Dai looked down. The gorge breathed beneath him, deep and endless. His heart hammered so violently it felt as if it might crack his ribs from the inside. His palms slicked with sweat, fingers trembling as instinct screamed warnings louder than thought. This is insane. This could kill you. This isn't necessary. The wind whipped past his ears, carrying the promise of bone and stone and finality. Every part of him searched for justification to refuse. And in that refusal, Kenshin's words weighted like a blade. If you refuse, you prove you have skill, but not courage. You can defeat opponents in controlled spaces, but you cannot face the unknown. That is not Bushido. That is theater. Dai tied the rope around his waist. The fibers were rough, old, uneven beneath his fingers. His hands shook openly now. He did not try to hide it. Kenshin's voice was calm, unyielding. Fear is not your enemy. Paralysis is. Fear tells you danger is real. Courage tells you to move anyway. Dai stepped forward and the world tilted. The rope caught his weight with a dry creak that echoed in his bones. He lowered himself inch by inch, stone scraping skin, wind clawing at his robes. 30 feet never felt so infinite. Every breath became a prayer he didn't know the words to. He reached the ledge, knees buckling as his fingers closed around the marker stone. Stone in hand, he began the ascent. Halfway up, the rope shuddered. A sharp sound split the air. A strand snapped. Panic detonated inside him. His body screamed to freeze, to cling, to wait. Kenshin's voice cut through the chaos like steel. Courage is movement through fear, not waiting for it to pass. Dai moved. Faster now, sloppier, desperate. His hands tore open, blood slicking the rope. His arms burned, muscles begging for release. Another strand frayed. He climbed anyway. When he reached the edge, he collapsed forward, shaking, gasping, alive. Kenshin knelt beside him. Now you know, he said quietly. Courage is not feeling brave. It is acting when your body demands you stop. Dai lay staring at the sky, fear still vibrating in his bones, something else forming beneath it. The second virtue awakened. 6 remained. Week arrived with unrest. The village buzzed with fear and rumor. Bandits had been captured stealing rice from the granary. The penalty was clear. Execution. Public. At dawn. That evening, Kenshin brought Dai to the holding cells. 3 men sat chained, thin to the point of fragility. One of them could not have been more than 16. Dirt streaked his face. Hunger hollowed his eyes. They stole enough rice to feed their families for a month, Kenshin said. The law is clear. Theft means death. Justice demands execution. So why are we here? Dai asked. Because the law is not always justice, Kenshin replied. This is the third virtue. Jin. Compassion. The strength to see beyond rules to human suffering. He told Dai of his father, who once defended a disgraced samurai accused of cowardice. Masaru had discovered the man retreated not from fear, but to save wounded soldiers. Mercy was demanded. It was unpopular. Other samurai called it weakness, but Masaru understood something deeper. True strength protects. It does not exist solely to punish. Dai looked at the youngest boy, barely more than a child. Terror lived openly in his eyes. What can I do? Dai asked. The law is not mine to change. But your voice carries weight, Kenshin said. Your uncle respects you. You could argue for mercy. Banishment instead of death. It will cost you. Other samurai will see softness, weakness. The question is simple. Is following an unjust law strength, or is having the courage to challenge it? Dai did not sleep that night. At dawn, as villagers gathered and ropes were prepared, Dai stepped forward. Lord Tader, he said, voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. I request permission to speak. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. His uncle studied him. Speak. Dai faced the people. These men broke the law, but the law did not account for famine, for failed harvests, for starving children. I do not excuse theft, but I ask, is death justice or revenge? He bowed deeply. I propose banishment. Let them leave our province. Let mercy show we are strong enough to bend without breaking. Silence stretched long and sharp. Contempt burned in the eyes of other samurai. Weakness, softness, dishonor. Lord Tader stood unmoving, then spoke. The boy speaks wisdom beyond his years. Banishment is granted, as the prisoners were led away alive. The youngest turned back and bowed deeply. No words, only gratitude. Kenshin appeared beside Dai. Compassion is not weakness, he said. It is strength secure enough to show mercy. The third virtue awakened. 5 remained. Month to brought the trial of character. Kenshin arrived at the dojo with a peasant. Old, bent, smelling of soil and sweat. This man wishes to learn one sword technique, Kenshin said. Laughter rippled among the samurai. A peasant? Absurd, insulting. Dai remembered his father's voice. Respect is not granted by position. It is granted by existence. Dai bowed to the peasant as deeply as he would bow to a lord. I will teach you. Whispers followed him like shadows. But Dai talked patiently, carefully, with dignity. When the lesson ended, the peasant bowed, eyes wet. You have your father's heart. Kenshin nodded. Respect. Treating all beings with dignity, not because rank demands it, but because your character does. The 4th virtue awakened. Week 9 brought Makoto. Honesty. Lord Tader asked Dai about the clan's readiness. The truth was dangerous. Training was lax. Equipment outdated. Strategy complacent. Speaking it would shame his uncle. Silence would protect him. Dai inhaled. Uncle, he said, I must speak truth even if it displeases you. We are not prepared. The room froze. Then his uncle exhaled slowly. Better to hear it now than learn it in battle. Later, Kenshin said simply, Makoto. Honesty. Truth spoken at personal cost. The 5th virtue awakened. Month for tested honor. A rival samurai insulted Dai publicly, calling him weak, soft, a peasant's champion. The crowd expected blood. Dai bowed slightly. Your words reveal your character, not mine." He turned away. The rival raged. "Coward!" Dai did not stop. "My honor is not determined by your opinion," he said calmly. "It is defined by my code." Kenshin watched as whispers spread. "Honor," he said later, "an internal compass no insult can steal." The sixth virtue awakened. To remained. Month 6 arrived not with training, but with crisis. The kind that does not test muscle or technique, but the core of a man's word. News spread through the clan like poison in water. Lord Taida had been accused of treason by the shogun. False charges. Political maneuvering by rivals who understood that a blade was not always the sharpest weapon. The accusation carried a single meaning. If it was not answered properly, the punishment would not fall on one man alone. It would fall on the entire clan. Execution, erasure, an end so complete that even names would not survive. Every samurai faced the same choice: remain loyal and risk death, or abandon the clan and live. Over 3 days, the answers came quietly. 17 samurai left. Not openly, not with defiance, with excuses, sick parents, urgent obligations, weak justifications wrapped in politeness, cowardice disguised as necessity. Dai stood in the courtyard and watched them go. Each departure felt heavier than the last. Kenshin watched Dai. "Your uncle will likely be executed," Kenshin said calmly. "The clan may fall. You could leave now." No one would blame a 19-year-old for choosing survival over doomed loyalty. "Will you leave?" Dai did not hesitate. "No." Kenshin studied him. "Why?" "I swore an oath to my father," Dai said. "I remain until death releases me from that oath." Kenshin nodded slowly. "Then I remain also." Dai looked at him. "Even though it may cost your life?" "Especially because it may cost my life," Kenshin replied. "That is when loyalty matters most." For the first time since their meeting, something unmistakable crossed Kenshin's face. "Pride. This is Chugi," he said. "Loyalty. Not allegiance to winning sides, but faithfulness to your word regardless of consequence. Your father died at Sigahara maintaining his loyalty when he could have fled. You carry his spirit." Kenshin's voice deepened, rising beyond the moment. "Throughout history, this is the crucible that reveals warriors. When honor and survival collide, when remaining standing means losing everything. Not in comfort, in fire. When holding your code may cost you your life. That is where the way is proven." The days that followed were heavy with uncertainty. Preparations were made quietly, not for escape but for dignity. And then, as suddenly as it had arrived, the storm broke. The charges were exposed as false. Lord Taida was exonerated. The clan survived. Relief swept through the estate like breath returning to lungs. But something else followed. Names were struck from the records. The 17 who fled were erased from memory, while Dai and the 5 who remained were spoken of for generations. Not for victory, for loyalty. The 7th virtue was complete. 1 remained. Month 7 brought the final test, and it did not arrive disguised as philosophy or moral debate. It arrived in flesh and insult. The rival samurai who had once mocked Dai returned. This time, words were not enough. Before the assembled dojo, he struck a formal challenge. A duel to the death. By every law, Dai had the right to accept. His skill was superior, his victory almost certain. His honor, in the eyes of doubters, would be restored through blood. The crowd waited. The rival smiled. This was the moment he had engineered. Knshin spoke only once. "What does accepting prove?" Dai answered without thinking. "That I am not a coward." "To whom?" Kenshin asked. Dai paused. "You have spent 7 months awakening 7 virtues," Kenshin continued. "Now the 8th tests whether you have integrated them, or merely performed them. Jisei, self-control, mastery over the only enemy that truly matters. Yourself, your ego, your hunger for validation, your desire to prove yourself to people whose opinions carry no weight." Kenshin's gaze sharpened. "Your rival wants you to fight because he knows he can make you react. He cannot control his own ego, so he seeks to control yours. If you accept, he wins, not because he defeats you, but because he proves you are still a slave to provocation. But if you refuse, not from fear, but from mastery, you demonstrate the highest strength of all. The strength to not need to demonstrate strength. The dojo was silent as Dai stepped forward. The rival sneered. You decline. He spat. Coward. Dai met his eyes calm as still water. No. I simply refuse to be controlled by your need for validation. You want to fight because you need to prove something. I have nothing to prove. My code is complete with or without your approval. He turned his back and walked away. The rival screamed insults. The crowd whispered. Some called it weakness. Others felt something they could not name. Dai felt only freedom. Complete freedom from the opinions of others. Kenshin stood beside him. Your father's training is complete, he said. The 8 virtues live in you now, not as ideas, as bone, as breath, as an unshakable foundation. 6 months later, spring arrived. The year was 1681. Dai was 20 summers old. He had not changed in appearance. His skill was much the same, but his presence had transformed completely. He moved differently, spoke differently, existed differently. When faced with corruption, rectitude guided him without thought. Do what is right. When danger appeared, courage carried him forward. Move through fear. When suffering revealed itself, compassion shaped his strength. Protect. When meeting anyone, respect governed his posture. All deserved dignity. When questioned, honesty controlled his tongue. Speak truth. When insulted, honor remained untouched. Worth is internal. When others fled, loyalty kept him standing. When provoked, self-control silenced reaction. Master yourself first. This was Bushido, not rules memorized. Identity forged. 1 year after Kenshin's arrival, a young samurai approached Dai in the training yard. 17 summers, skilled, empty. I heard you trained with Kenshin, the boy said. That he taught you the code. Can you teach me? Dai saw himself reflected in the boy's eyes. The code cannot be taught, he said gently. It can only be discovered through 8 trials. 8 moments where everything you think you are is stripped away until only truth remains. The boy nodded. I'm willing. Good, Dai said. Tomorrow we begin with the hardest virtue of all, rectitude. The courage to do what is right when everything in you wants to do what is easy. As the words left his mouth, Dai realized they were no longer Kenshin's, nor his father's. They were Bushido itself, timeless, waiting. The student had become the teacher. The code passed forward. The virtues did not die. They simply waited for the next warrior willing to forge them into soul. Not because he mastered technique, but because he mastered himself. Kenshin's final words lingered in the air like incense smoke. Then he turned, walked into the morning mist, and was gone. Dai did not follow. He did not call out. Some lessons are completed not with goodbyes, but with silence. Dai stood alone in the courtyard, yet he felt no absence, because the 8 virtues lived within him now. A code older than steel, stronger than death. Bushido, the way that does not end. The virtues eternal. 10 years passed. The year was 1688. Dai of the Taida clan was now 29 summers old. His name traveled across provinces, not carried by songs of conquest or banners stained with blood, but by something rarer, unbreakability. When corruption appeared, he chose rectitude without hesitation. When danger rose, he moved forward with calm courage. When suffering crossed his path, compassion guided his strength. When he met anyone, lord or peasant, respect shaped his presence. When questioned, honesty governed his words. When insulted, his honor remained untouched. When others fled, loyalty anchored him. When provoked, self-control ruled him completely. This was Bushido embodied. Young samurai traveled from distant lands to stand where Dai once stood. They expected sword techniques, secret forms, deadly precision. Instead, he taught them something harder. Your skill with the blade matters less than your skill with yourself, he told them. Technique fades, character remains. 8 virtues, 8 pillars. Forge them into your soul and no storm can move you. One evening, alone in meditation, Dai reflected on the path that had shaped him. From the hollow warrior with 17 empty victories, to the complete man whose defeats and triumphs were carried with the same integrity, the transformation had not been dramatic. It had been daily, small choices, quiet moments, choosing virtue when convenience whispered louder. Gi. Rectitude. Do what is right. You. Courage. Act despite fear. Jin. Compassion. Strength. Protects. Rei. Respect. All deserve dignity. Makoto. Honesty. Speak only truth. Miyo. Honor. Internal and unshaken. Gi. Loyalty. Steadfast. Unto death. Jisei. Self-control. Master yourself first. These were not habits, not rules, not philosophies to debate. They were identity, and when embodied fully, they formed a foundation the world could not break, because it was not built on circumstances, victory, or approval. It was built on character, and character, forged in the fire of daily choice, is the only thing that remains when everything else burns away. Dai rose, facing the setting sun. He drew his father's sword, now his own, and made one perfect cut, not to strike an enemy but to honor the code. Bushido lives not in the blade, but in the hand that wields it, not in victory, but in the man who chooses virtue regardless of outcome. This is the way. This was always the way. This will forever be the way. The sun disappeared. Darkness came, but the 8 virtues remained, shining like stars, guiding every warrior who chooses honor over comfort, virtue over convenience, character over chaos. This is Bushido. This is the code. This is what turns men into legends, and legends never die.